Welcome to episode 6 of the Splitfire podcast. I couldn't think of any films that got to 6 that were any good, apart from Star Trek 6. So hopefully this is the Star Trek 6 equivalent of the Splitfire podcast. What's happened since the new year? We had that live stream. That was pretty good. I got some fan mail, some genuine fan mail. So thanks for that. That was for someone in the Warhammer Fantasy Discord. What else did I manage to do? I managed to paint 2 units of High Elves, which is something I promised to do in the live stream, and I thought I would never get round to. So it's a year of success, and we're only 10 days in. What else? Oh, the channel's Twitter, at Splitfire Gaming 1, because Splitfire Gaming with a G has already been taken. That's gone up to 70-odd followers. And I've had a lot of support off, I'm going to name drop these because they've been very nice. Lord Metalman, Dave the Sandman, Miniatures Apothecary, and of course the Great Gamer Khan, who've liked, followed, and shared the trash that I put out on Twitter quite a lot. So thanks very much. I just thought Twitter was a nest of poisonous vipers, but apparently there is a nice corner to it. So there we go. We are going to try doing another live stream towards the end of the month. I'm going to pin a tweet there on the Twitter, and if you've got any ideas, this is what they call audience engagement, or getting the audience to do the work for you. I'm going to pin a tweet. If you put comments, like any areas that you'd like us to talk about on there, or under here, I think we're just going to, depending on how many we get, put them in a bag and just draw them at random. And then we're under pressure to talk about them. What else have I got on my notes? Oh, apparently I've got listeners in Virginia, Kansas, and Minnesota. So if that applies to you, put a message on, because I'm interested in how this minor little podcast has been listened to in Virginia. So, anyway, first... Whoa, hang on, don't interrupt. I'm doing my bit. You can't... Ian tried to interrupt and he took over the thing. So I'm going to be militant in my guest management this year.
I'll mute myself. I'll put myself in my place.
It's all right. I'm about to get around to the introduction bit now.
Hey.
That's fine. My first guest of the year is Adam. Welcome, Adam.
Hi.
Have you had a good hobby year last year?
I actually have. After many years playing Iron Warriors and then gutting my collection and selling all my Iron Warriors, restarting as Black Legion and then selling all my Black Legion, I've restarted Iron Warriors.
The circle is now complete, to quote a different... I see where you're going there.
The Iron Circle is now complete, yeah.
Very good.
I don't actually have any Iron Circle because they're 30k models, which ruins the joke, but that's the world we're living in.
Partial credit.
Yeah, it's been a good hobby. Yeah, it turns out I just need to whittle. I was 35 and on various kinds of medication to be able to accurately paint hazard chevrons on armor.
I was going to say, Iron Warriors have got that sort of... Well, the difficulty level spikes a bit with all the chevroning.
It does a little bit, but
because I wouldn't try that. I don't have the skill.
I mean, I hesitate to say I've got the skill.
Oh, come on.
Oh, for sure.
Adam's another one of those horrible people who are naturally talented at painting.
I'm really not that good though. I'm above average.
Everyone who's a good painter says, "Oh, I'm not really that good."
I know, but have you seen these guys online though? No one gets to feel good about painting unless they're in the top 1% anymore, thanks to Instagram.
Yeah, that's their job, or I'm sure they're professionals, or their sole aim in life is to be great painters.
I mean, yeah, I guess. I'm not bad. But honestly though, I think the second you're not a professional painter and you paint something and go, this is perfect, I don't have to do anything to it, I don't have any regrets or anxieties about it, I think you might as well give up, because that's not the point. Like, I did art which was a year of wasted life. Way
Keep
back
it
when.
light. Keep it light.
I'm trying, but it's been a year. Um, the one thing I learned is that like a thing with creatives, especially like these are people who went out of the way to do art, not just hobby art kind of thing, is that no one's ever happy with what they do, and that's kind of part of the whole thing.
I have to say, having no creative ability whatsoever, it's very difficult for me to say that's enough.
Yeah.
Which I'm just getting round to now. Like those White Lions I finished, I was stressing about, I haven't done the little, they have got little bits of cord, and is that being highlighted properly? Like, not bothered. It's a block of 30. You're never going to notice, and it looks fine. So to be able to say that'll do, I think that's that for me. That's a major thing, especially when I don't have the skill to make it perfect. So it's never being happy and not being able to fix it. You want to get away from that, and that's what I think anyway.
I think that's. I think fantasy, old fantasy, the thing that exists, not the other thing that came along.
There's another one for my team. Get in.
That's. It's quite forgiving of that because you've got the bigger regiments of even your elite units are sort of anonymized by like the big serried ranks of close form infantry. But I think with 40k, you've got and that other thing that happened, you've got freestanding miniatures, and they're more visible from all angles than they've ever been before.
Yeah, you can't really hide. At Unit 5, you can't hide them.
No.
There's a block of 30. You do the front rank tip top, and then the back ones don't really matter.
But yeah, that's sorry. Yeah, the Iron Warriors have been most of the hobby thing. Yeah. I realised I'd sort of derailed you there.
That's fine. It's broad strokes, appropriately enough, not targeted topics of conversation. But you used to work for Games Workshop.
Briefly, yes.
Yeah. So that you are the third person I've had on here that's used to work for the company.
Yeah.
And I still haven't answered for this. What is Jervis Johnson really like?
I worked at the store for 6 months, so I can give you full conjecture.
You're able to speculate on what he's like.
I can absolutely speculate on what Jervis Johnson is like. He's more down to earth than you might think, but he's relatable.
Yeah.
However,
heart of gold. Has he got heart of gold?
He has. Salt of the earth, really. But when you get him talking, he can get a bit snotty,
Right.
You get him talking about rules and what is it, fluff crafting, and he turns on you.
He's lived in that White Dwarf ivory tower for too long.
That seems a contradiction.
Yeah, that's true. But since neither of us have met him, then it's applicable in any situation. Then
there you go. Yeah.
Apparently, you always used to write these tactical things in. I can't remember this. Someone was telling us about it. He used to write these tactics in White Dwarf, and they're always rubbish. They never worked, and he always got beaten. He wrote the tactics page, and he always got beaten in all the battle reports.
Perhaps
this is not a go at Jervis Johnson. I've never met him.
I know we've both confessed to this. Maybe it's just a sort of like some sort of Confucian sort of Sun Tzu nonsense, and that I don't know. Is there a thing in the Art of War about that? Getting the shit knocked out of you on tabletop? Much you become...
maybe in the annex, the bit that they didn't publish, Sun Tzu binned that off.
Yeah. I mean, I wish he'd left it in because that would justify my entire Warhammer Fantasy career.
Do you want to go down that rabbit hole, or should we skip over that bit?
Well, if it comes up, we can talk about how I've literally never won a game of Warhammer Fantasy. Since 6th edition.
Yeah, you have. You won at when we did that mini tournament.
When? Against who?
I thought you beat John.
Oh shit! Yeah, I beat. Sorry. I managed to beat goblins.
Everyone's got to start somewhere.
Yeah, start with
you've actually came third in a Warhammer Fantasy tournament.
Yeah, came third in a tournament of 4 players.
So you leave that bit out. Sun Tzu
Give
says,
it there.
"Leave it out."
Leave it at.
Yeah, that's what he says. I normally do this thing. How did you get into the world of hobby?
Oh,
I'm out of practice here. It's a big gap since the last one.
well, a mutual acquaintance of ours. Well, he got me into it originally. Second edition, Warhammer 40,000, quite early on in second edition, actually.
You may be able to answer this. On the last one, I said that the guy on the front of that box was a Blood Angel, and Gavin said he might have been a Crimson Fist.
No, he's definitely a Blood Angel.
Knew it.
It's the second battle for Armageddon, which, before some retconning at some stage, was, I believe, Blood Angels and Salamanders, but then it sort of shifted to be Black Legion and Salamanders, and I think the Blood Angels may have been there.
Right.
But it gets confusing because in universe, put my lore hat on, in universe, they refer to the second battle for Armageddon as the first battle for Armageddon because the first battle of Armageddon was deleted from history records. So
right.
that's the one where that's Angron.
Chaos.
It was a Cornate demon incursion that was put down by the Grey Knights and Space Wolves and some guardsmen who were all killed for witnessing it.
The second stroke first battle may come up later, so they go spoilers.
It will actually on both our accounts.
If I remember
my notes. Yeah.
No, we don't know what we've written, honest.
Oh, right. Is it all? None of this is premeditated.
No.
There was no. This wasn't delayed at all by my anxious attempt to write a script.
Don't pull the mask. This isn't the Wizard of Oz, right? They don't need to know what goes on behind the mask. This is how Hollywood does it. So anyway,
yes,
he introduced you to second edition 40k.
He did. Long-time 40k fans may remember that as the box with all the cardboard in, plus 40. What was it? It was 20 Orcs, 20 Gretchen, and 20. No, it was 20 Orcs, 40 Gretchen, and 20 Space Marines, all monoposed. And a cardboard dreadnought token.
It also had the great painting guide for the Space Orc Goth, where it was from undercoated to fully painted to the best standards of the day in 3 stages.
Yes. Done.
Like base coat it, paint the layers on, highlight. That was right.
You're done.
Do you want to show me how to do that? No. Even with the Space Orc Goth checkerboard pattern. Just paint that on.
Yeah, you just do it. Just do it by eye.
Yeah. Why not?
You won't need a pencil or tools.
What's wrong with you? Just paint it on.
Yeah, this actually goes back to what we talked about earlier, the whole hobby and hobbyist inadequacy thing. I wonder if GW isn't partly responsible for that. Like, but Papa, I followed the instructions, and it looks like an abomination.
Yeah, I've got 3. I've got Goblin Green, I've got Chaos Black, and I've got whatever the red was, and that doesn't appear to be sufficient paints to do this heavy metal standard of the day model.
And what was it? I remember in the old painting guide, I shit thee nay, the highlight recommendation for Ultramarines Blue was you painted them. I think in the original painting guide, it wasn't Ultramarines Blue, it was Enchanted Blue. And you highlighted them with a mixture of Enchanted Blue and Mithril Silver. And I can assure you, by going into the garage, in fact, and digging out, I still have 3 or 4 of my first ever painted Space Marines. That looks atrocious.
Now they actively say don't mix metallics with normal paint because it'll ruin the normal paint with all the metallic.
No, none of that. Just mix that up.
Just mix it up. Don't worry about it.
Goblin Green base.
Yeah.
Add band or flock.
Flock, Goblin Green. It's the best way. Which, did you pick any of those armies, or did you pick a different army?
Oh, way back in the day. Oh, what was my first week? I think I went at it with like many. I think it was about 10. So I went at it like many 10-year-olds in that you just bought the models you thought were cool. So I think I had 10 Metal Cadian Guardsmen, a bunch of Ultramarines, because of course.
Yeah.
Marnius Calgar, because of course. and what was it? A Leman Russ and a Hellhound. It was a garbage army, but
They were that actually probably came back at the back end of 8th edition as Imperial Soup. So
yeah, I
everything
was
everything
just ahead
comes
of my
back
time.
then. Yeah.
But no, I embraced chaos roughly when that amazing first Codex Chaos came out. Back the first unified Codex Chaos in second edition.
That wasn't the one that applied to fantasy as well, or was it?
No, that was the one before. Although people forget this, in the back of the second ed 40k Codex, there are Chaos Warrior units and Beastmen, because there's like Worlds of Chaos auxiliaries you can put in your army in some of their advanced lists, and you get like cultists, Warriors of Chaos who have like primitive armor, and you get like men that get chaos cultists that can take muskets. It's really weirdly in depth, and I never saw any player ever use them, but it was there.
That's second ed. They hadn't quite transitioned out of the what kind of game is this to third edition is what everything else is built on. Second's
Yeah.
still like what the hell are we doing really? It's the rules as well are a nightmare.
Do you ever people forget this because like I played second edition, and people forget how close combat used to work.
Isn't it like model by model or something
No,
mad like that?
it's actually insane how it worked. What was it? Now you know how you've got a number of attacks. You roll those attacks. You roll to see if they hit. You roll to see if they wound. In the old days, you rolled your attack dice, which gave you a number of hits, and that was the number of attempts you got to make on your opponent. And you could sacrifice a number of those hits as parries, which negated opponent hits. And yet, so basically, in the actual rulebook where it gives you an example of a Space Marine sergeant fighting an orc, he does 11 hits with his chainsword, which is mental. But yeah, people forget that the combat in 40k used to be absolutely insane. And whether a weapon was kept, back then, the advantage of a power sword over a power axe was that a power sword could parry, but a power axe could be used in two hands or one hand, with different profiles. Which, I think that's the part where like we're not quite out of being a tabletop D&D game because
Yeah, it's still the RPG element to it.
yeah, I mean, as you well know, as you probably well know, the original Rogue Trader edition of the game recommended 3 players minimum because one was the DM.
Yeah, I remember that. Well, I don't remember it, but I've seen
ref.
it. Yeah, it's just someone's gonna have to do the admin. So you turned to chaos.
I did, yes. And honestly, I don't think I ever really fully looked back. I think we all have that same thing if we dip in and out of the hobby, which we've all done. And when I came back, it was again in late third or early fourth edition with you, and that was Iron Warriors. And back then you were Tyranids, I believe.
Yeah, I bought a load of Tyranids about a week before they remodeled them to the new Tyranids.
Oh, those ghastly Hive Tyrants, which were still not quite as ghastly as the first model.
The first model's great. The Warriors are better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. So that would have been sort of like the early 2000s. That's when I got back into it the second time round.
Yeah, because we used to go gaming in the Metro Centre store.
Ooh, yeah, on a 4x4 table. Again, that's now in again. So
it's all coming back around.
It's nothing new. I don't think we went to any tournaments or anything for 40k, did it?
We did go to that big. It was trying to set a world record at the time. Do you remember the?
It wasn't Games Day. It was the NEC.
It was this was in stores. And
it was the big
armor battle thing, wasn't it? It was all vehicles and monstrous creatures,
something like that.
And the battles affected the tables in your room, but the cumulative results of all the stores added together and went into this big sort of pot. And I don't know what happened after that. I think I lost interest. I just went to do the games, which was fun.
They stopped doing that because sides that won weren't the ones they wanted.
Yeah, that was wasn't that the big thing of the massive diarrhea storm that was Storm of Chaos?
Oh yeah, they had to do all of that. Just I think the
Was it
the evil side just annihilated the good side.
absolutely obliterated Midnight?
Yeah.
And
So
then
people then they just retconned it in 8th edition. Like, right, we'll set it before this even happened.
yeah, because forget that didn't
Yeah,
happen.
that never happened.
Archaon didn't get chinned by, was it Azag the Slaughterer or Grimgor
I think it was
Ironfist?
Grimgor.
Grimgor nutted him unconscious.
Yeah, we can't have that with our
It wasn't
unbeatable
that
Chaos Lord.
Valton just got absolutely shit mixed.
Yeah,
like he didn't.
I think they drift. That's why they drifted away, because they had no control of the narrative, and people are annoyed that, right, well, we've just invested months of our time to do this, and you just throwing the results out the window.
Yeah. Happy times.
Yeah.
I was a Chaos Warrior. I was a Warriors of Chaos player at that time, but I wasn't involved in the actual Storm of Chaos gaming.
No, it did pass me by as well. I think I was
Yeah.
Lizardman. I would have been Lizardman at the time.
You were, yes. I remember the frustration of using a Khorne Warriors of Chaos army, marching slowly towards infinite poison blowpipes and the best magic in the game.
Yeah, they were strong in 6th edition Lizards.
To be fair, I think that was the carrot and stick of the Khorne army of 6th edition was, if you get there, you've won, but you got to get there.
Yeah, that's always the chaos thing, isn't it? Unless you Zinch.
Yeah.
Any time you're not spent in combat is time wasted.
Yeah. I mean, I really like shooting. I don't understand why I keep picking fantasy armies that have almost none.
Yeah, it's even your secondary fantasy army doesn't shoot.
Nope. Not even a little bit. Sorry, no, it does. It has yelling bats.
Oh yeah, that's not really a shooting attack though. It's just made in the shooting phase.
Yeah, it's not really shooting at all.
Sorry to get technical, but yeah. Nice. Yeah. So, but you've got quite a significant guard army.
Yes, well. My main army 40k right now is guard. Guard have always sort of crept in and out of whatever I did in 40k. I've always had some guardsmen somewhere, but I think it was 5th edition. No, it was late 5th edition, mid 5th edition. I just got into a guard army. I'd done Eldar for a bit, because the you may all remember the campaign of New 40k New Army for 5th edition.
Give us more money.
Yeah. If you worked in the store, that was mandatory. So
give us your pay.
Yeah. So I picked Eldar and I picked Iandon, and this is before Iandon dominated the hobby for what feels like forever. And I was as I often do, as you can probably attest, I try to make fluffy armies. So I was thinking, right, it's got to be infantry light, because, it's a 90% of this craft world's dead. So, Wraith Guard, a couple of Wraith Lords, Farseer, a Spirit Seer. And I think it was one big mob of Guardians who all used to huddle around the Farseer. And that army, by accident, was undefeatable. I sort of gradually eased off playing with it in the store, because it was 6 for 6, and I'd accidentally made an absolutely monstrous list, just trying to make something that looked nice in the cabinet.
That must be like the modern age, or just before, where if someone previously you think, oh, I like the Iron Hands, I'll make a nice little Iron Hand army. Oh my god!
oh, what?
Now you're getting lumped in with all these people who've power gamed it. No, I really like them. It's nothing to do with the gaming.
Yeah, Shadrach Meduson's my favorite guy in Horus Heresy.
Who?
Well, to quote, I think it's either Horus or Fulgrim, Shadrach Bloody Meduson.
He's also in Sharp. There's a different character.
Yeah.
What were we talking about? Eldar. Yeah.
Eldar. Accidentally
make a powerful super list.
But yeah, I always guard was where I wanted to be, and
I like your guard's paint scheme. I think that blue is very nice.
a nice sort of like a. It's not quite corn. It's the step between like an imperial blue and cornflower. Would you say?
Hmm.
It's like it's not quite sky blue, but not quite navy either. I think originally we used to. You were there when I came up with the paint scheme. Actually, we were painting in my kitchen, watching Lock and Load with Alarielle.
The greatest show of all time. If anyone wants to see that,
it's one of the greats. Absolutely. Rest in peace.
He hates them melons.
He does.
He's
Well, he
shooting
likes
melons in heaven now.
and he made a much worse joke.
Yeah, I don't want to. I disrespected Paul Daniels last time, but I'm not going to do that.
How did that happen?
Listen to the live stream recording if it does come up.
I shall. Bloody hell! What have I got myself into here? Right,
yes,
sorry.
Lock and Load.
Yeah, I think it was originally because you see how people do. There's the eye roll that is Nazi Guard and Wehrmacht Guard and British Empire Guard. It's all been done. And I thought I've never actually seen someone do like a French Imperial style color scheme, which is where the whole, like the line infantry of Napoleon was with the black shakos and the
got the blue,
the grey and the blue with some white accenting, and I sort of kept black armor and used white for the elites, and it's worked pretty well actually. As you say, it looks distinct from a lot of guard armies because people aren't used to seeing a bunch of blue Lehman Russes.
It does. I like it on that, and I like it on the what's the transport called?
The Chimera.
Yeah, I like it on that.
It's very nice. Chimera it's an old kit, but it checks out. It's
check off the references, listeners, as they come up.
I've got plenty of them. I've got a notepad here. It's just got so many nice like rivety bits and hard edges. It's a dream to highlight with just like a gentle dry brushing. I'm not one of those airbrush guys. It's gonna come out now as a non-airbrush painter.
Oh my god! Alive.
So brave.
The community's here to support you.
Or curse my name.
Could be
alternately.
Yeah.
Reddit tells me it's a surprisingly divisive issue.
Yeah, I don't really get into it, but I've tried airbrushing and it's not for me. I know you can do incredible stuff, but I'm not even interested in learning it.
I find the compressors make a racket, which I find like
it tends to be a lot of setup. It's quick, but
yeah, but like to me, painting is a quiet, contemplative, peaceful activity.
Like a compressor going off on your ear.
No, none of that. Especially because I often, as a near lifelong insomniac, I've painting's been a really good release for me, and I can't imagine that's unique to me. There's got to be lots of us hobbyists out there who have found themselves late night painting up next to a lamp.
Well, I was going to mention something about Imperial Guard. Oh, how's your success record with the Imperial Guard beaten your fantasy success record?
It has not.
Because to be fair, it's been a lot closer. Then you lose by. I think the last 8th game we played, you lost by a point.
Yeah, I mean, I've drawn a few times, mostly against you. There's a recurring pattern here. With your admech, who are a totally fair army, not replete with buffs, rerolls, and abilities to make guardsmen not shoot them ever again.
Well, we don't have orders.
It was just I just remember that the one time I was at a game and it was Richie watching us. I was like, all right, I'm going to shoot this unit. And you're like, you're -2 to hit. So you're hitting on 6s. And Richie's like, how are man? from the sidelines. That seems unfair.
Well, 9th has got rid of that. You can only ever have a +1 or -1 modifier.
Yeah,
that's sort of sorted that out.
It's a relief for guard players. I can tell you that much because
Well, you hit on
there's
4s
no
anyway, so it's
there's no amount of weight of fire that can make 6s a worthy investment of anything. But yeah, they've done okay. As you know, we did that big grueling.
well, that was
What was that?
that was
Was that
3.
5,000? Was that three or
God.
3,000 points aside,
No, it
or
was
5,000?
2, 4. I think it was 6,000 aside because we had
It
2,000
was
points. The biggest game was 2,000 points, and then it was 4,000
Nope.
points aside.
Are you sure it wasn't 5? Because
No,
I've got a funny feeling it was 2,500
Yeah,
up there.
it was 5,000 points. That's right.
Yeah, and that was. I honestly thought we'd won that right up until we didn't.
This is what I was saying in the what do you call it, live stream. The objectives have changed so much that you've got to keep your eye on them, or
Yeah.
just annihilating stuff is not necessarily the way to go. But it's such a big game, right? How are you supposed to keep track of?
I mean, I thought we worked keeping track of objectives. To be fair, I just didn't. I think the problem is you don't always know what your opponent's scoring with all the time.
That's the thing with the hidden objectives and stuff like that. And
yeah,
I mean, it's a ludicrously big game, so I wasn't really that bothered about the result. But
it was more the fun of the playing it. And that was quite a thing. That was, what was it? I was guard with allied scions, and you were knights.
Yeah, all of my
so
knights.
after I'd unpacked about 200 miniatures, you put down, what was it, 13?
Less than that, I think.
Oh, sorry, no, you didn't take any armigers, did you?
I think it's 4 knights and 2 armigers or something.
Oof.
4 knights and 3 armigers or something. So yeah.
Yeah, we're deploying forever, and we were against Night Lords and Tyranids.
So even similar size of deployment.
that was a grand thing.
Yeah, I like that sequential, because it started at like 500 and then over the course of 3 days up to 5,000.
But I mean, I'll say it for that. It's really 8th and 9th have really reinvigorated me, because I've got my sister's army and my chaos army built now. In painting in progress, and neither of those two have been play tested yet. So I'm looking forward to that when Nurgle gives us a break.
I think if this had been the 40k universe, this planet had been exterminatus for Nurgle cult worship at this point. Touch wood. I'm not gonna buy anything new because I've got a knight army. I bought a load of Thousand Suns, and I've got that Admech army to finish. So I think I'm going to go back to the Admech.
Yeah,
because I quite.
I'm not planning on buying anything new except maybe some Terminators for the Chaos Army, because I mean they're a mandatory kit. They are beautiful, and I think it just doesn't feel like a proper Iron Warriors army without a little wedge of Terminators in there somewhere.
But the topic that we've picked to talk about,
oh God, I forgot about that.
Yeah, 40 minutes there. So the topic we've gone for is top 5 characters, which, looking through my list, if you saw my top 5 armies, you could probably predict what my characters are going to be.
I think I'd nailed 4 out of 5 of your choices, which I totally don't know about.
You at least keep the illusion that this wasn't prearranged. Anyway, do you want to go first, or shall I?
I don't know. I guess I'd go first, because I know I'm not going to step on your toes with this one. Because you guess right. I'm taking it. Okay, so my number 1 pick, and I should actually caveat this with some of these may be good on the tabletop, but some of them aren't. That's not really why I picked them. Mostly I picked them for lore or fun, or sometimes just the model goodness. But
mine's a mix of, in fact, looking through the list, it's mostly fluff. There's only 2.5 maybe that are anything really about battlefield ability.
So my first pick was Nagash.
Straight in with a strong opening choice there.
You got Blitzkrieg with the Well, it's hard to ignore Nagash if you talk about Warhammer Fantasy because he's always been there, literally, pretty much, and always will be, and he survived it. At the dubious distinction of possibly being quite instrumental in killing Warhammer, although you
That
could probably lay most of that at Manfred's feet, I think.
that was all a dream.
Was all a dream. But if anyone was going to kill most of the old world, theoretically, it probably would have been Nagash. The Supreme Lord of the Undead, the Great Necromancer, Sauron II, Electric Boogaloo, the Tsar of Zombies, the Sultan of Skeletons, the Ayatollah of Rock and Roll.
He's getting as many titles as Cetra at this rate.
At this rate, and he'll get more because Cetra's dead. Deal with it.
Well, he came back.
But they always come back. So let's see. Nagash comes out the gate as a one to watch. He rolls super hard. He kills his own brother Thutep by locking him in his dad's pyramid, and steals the throne of Khemri.
That's from the old. The firstborn is supposed to be a priest, isn't it? The firstborn, for the sacrifice to the gods. But Nagash has got other ideas, apparently.
He has. You see, that's the whole. I actually have this in my script. I totally didn't prepare. In the very first instance of Nagash really not being happy with accepting his lot in life, a trend that will absolutely continue. Yeah, there's going to be some yardering because Nagash has been alive for literally thousands of years. But at some point, some Dark Elves shipwreck in Khemri and are captured by his dad, who is dead at this point. It's a bit hazy on this. That his father, it mentions his father captured these Dark Elves, but then I guess Dark Elves live technically forever too. So, that would explain why they're just lying about, I guess. But he nicks them, tortures them, masters dark magic, kills them with it. And at this point, Nagash decides to get serious. So he's chilling out, as you do, as one does. You've usurped your kingdom. He invents necromancy, writes 9 novels, which are very heavily necromancy themed.
The Khemri Times bestseller.
Yeah, the 9 books of Nagash. It's the Game of Thrones of the Warhammer world.
Oh, do they get worse towards the
end? Well, in terms of how he gets much more deadly the more of them he has, I guess technically they do.
I like how necromancy is just you take the priest cult from Khemri and you mix it with dark magic, and we can now. It's like the priest cult magic is now on speed or something.
Basically, yeah, it's like because they just use it to they come around to that later, but it does mention they can make small animated constructs, I think, early on, but nothing too fancy. So Ashapti aren't in the mix yet. They have to research those because they suddenly realize that Nagash can raise the dead. Actually, no, they don't know that yet. That comes up, obviously. But yeah, he's still bored, I guess, because he's never not busy. Deciding he has shit to do and not enough life to do it in, he just invents immortality, as one does. Passes it around his best mates, which includes Arkan the Black. And now Arkan the Black is a good one to watch. He nearly made it on my top 5 as well. This is a guy who recognizes talent. He's a nobleman who was in the priesthood with Nagash, and just looked at them, was like, this guy's going places. Time to get in at the ground floor. And because of that, he gets the immortality serum or potion or whatever you would like to call it, as well as some of the choice priests who become Nagash's lieutenants. And, Nagash being Nagash is quite evil. So the immortality juice isn't permanent. You got to keep drinking it, and only he can make it. So he's like, first one's free, guys.
So he's sort of like a drug pusher of Khemri.
Another drug metaphor, yes. He's just a very sophisticated crack dealer at this point.
So he's the first, not the first necromancer, but the first crack distributor.
It's the lesser known of one of his titles. So yeah, then he builds the largest structure in the world. It still is the largest structure. Thousands died doing it, but Nagash doesn't sweat that. It is a pyramid, and I noted this. I never really realized this. It's the ultimate power move, considering he's immortal. He builds the world's largest tomb for himself. It's just like a real dick move, isn't it?
It's supposed to channel.
Oh no, yeah, it has a functional
purpose.
It channels the winds of magic and pulls them through Khemri, but it's just the big poke in the eye of I can't die. Now thousands of you must die to build my tomb, which I'll never use. Well, also his thinking was at the time, I can only assume. I don't think he planned to die at any point. But hell, you can see why I led with Nagash, because there's so much more to cover. To this point, well, he is the supreme lord of all the stuff and things in not Egypt. But he returns to Nagashazar, apparently, not giving too many craps about it. He has decided, because this guy is something of an overachiever, he's never happy. He's never he's at this point. Let's just to backtrack. He has invented necromancy. He has mastered dark magic. Invented necromancy. Invented immortality. Possibly air conditioning. Built the world's largest building. Subjugated an entire kingdom twice. And accidentally invented vampires. Now he decides he wants to do a giant spell known as the Great Ritual of Nagash, which would resurrect every single corpse on the planet and bring them under his control. So it's a bit of a lofty goal there. This is his first go at world domination. So he goes. It's best you don't ask questions at some of the points of this. He gets a bunch of warpstone from somewhere. I believe in the older versions of it, it was mined at Cripple Peak, or that might be later, because this story is confusing as crap. Yada, yada, yada. It says he consumes the warpstone. So as a kid, I assumed that literally meant he ate it. It's never made clear how one consumes warpstone.
Great Seers sniff it. It's like,
yeah, some of them huff it like as powder. Okay. Or you powder it and inject it into your veins. Seriously, there are some clans Scryer constructs work on having warpstone pumped into them. So let's assume he's eating a bunch of freaky moon rocks. That works for me. That's how he's consuming them. He's eating them. They make him way more powerful, and he was already fairly powerful with all his books and whatnot. And the ritual goes off, slurping up all their life and poisoning this guy. Very biblical stuff. Sky gets poisoned, rivers run black, all that nonsense. But what he doesn't know is the Skaven, noticing that it might not be beneficial for them or anyone else for Nagash to summon every corpse on the planet and have full control of it. The Skaven sneak in and give him the Fellblade. Now, this is another thing I've recently just become aware of. The Fellblade is a deadly magic weapon. I don't know if it still works the same way as it used to, but it used to give the bearer, in the days of magic cards, strength 10 attacks with no saves allowed, I think.
Yeah, it still does.
It's said to be made of highly refined warpstone. Effectively, this is the equivalent of a bunch of sketchy dudes breaking into your prison cell and giving you a sword made of pure uranium. And they go, it's also to be noted that since the Fellblade kills its wielder and the Skaven are aware of this, that's why they want to give it to Alcatazar, so none of them have to use it.
do it.
They're not idiots. No. So yeah, he breaks into Nagash's throne room. Alcatrazar runs in, lops off his hand, and then chops him up and boots him into his own warpstone furnace. And most of the undead he raised die.
He comes back though, doesn't he? He sort of
Yeah,
reforms in. Is it
like a big gross T1000?
Yeah.
Well, he takes on the Empire. This is actually his briefest bit. His first resurrection is kind of like, oh, it's. I remember, I don't know, they wrote the background novels, which I only read the first one of, the Nagash trilogy. But I'm still based on the old Warhammer Armies Undead books, and this bit was kind of like a footnote. He just turns up, harasses the Empire for a bit, and then Sigmar twats him with the hammer and he dies.
Yeah, he's after his crown, which Sigmar has.
Yes, that's
exactly
it.
sure how Sigmar's got it. But Sigmar puts the crown on because somehow he realizes that the magic won't work on him if he's wearing Nagash's crown. And then he puts Galmaraz through his skull.
Which puts pay to his undead army, as us undead players are well familiar with. Never let your necromancer into combat.
See third edition rules for that one.
Yeah.
And he doesn't come back after that, does he? Until end times.
No, I don't think so. There's one bit where he's dead for like 800 years.
There's like a bit where I don't know. He comes back a bit sketchily. I don't know about that bit.
Yeah, it's like he sort of half comes back a few times, like in the whole crown thing and whatnot.
I mean, his model. There's the famous old model with his hat.
Let's talk trash about his model. The first Nagash model is a glorious sight to behold. He stands slightly taller than an ogre, has a hat that is taller than his torso by a factor of 2, I think, with bat wings on, 6 bat wings. It's like, it's so elaborate, you don't realize he's just wearing a big pointy wizard hat with bat wings on it. Because his old model is literally just a giant walking skeleton. Like the new one, which is amazing, does have sort of like dry, desiccated remnants of flesh on it in places.
I think his new model is one of the few good things to come out of the end times because it is a very impressive model.
It's fantastic, especially like the books orbiting him and
and he's flying on like a
spirit host kind of
yeah,
thing.
something like that, isn't it?
And let's not forget that he has retained a very impressive hat. His new hat is actually just amazing. It's like skeleton Pope.
In keeping with the rest of his model. So, is this in any particular order? Is Nagash your favourite character? Because mine
I do. I will admit, I love his model and I love the guy, but no, I didn't pick them in any particular order because I think they're all there for different reasons. I don't know what else is there to say about him. He's one of the best wizards. He also fights like a dragon that is also magical. He is definitely the best summoner in the game, to the best of my knowledge. And I believe he's also technically a level 9 wizard.
He's level 5.
Is he level 5?
And he can pick. I think he can pick his spells, which only
No, he just knows all of them. Right. Yeah, he's a lore master in a few avenues. I'm not super familiar with the end time rules. Like I say, I never got to use him.
I never played them, but I don't have much users. I've seen him played in battle reports and stuff. It does look a lot of fun, but you got to watch out for them cannons. As you've got anything large in fantasy, you got to watch out for cannons. Well, my first one, if
yeah. Let's be done with the cash.
I went for Alarielle, the Ever Queen, to continue my run of high elf characters or units or armies. Yeah, this is the one more for her game effects. But she's got some. Fluff's not too bad. The Ever Queen is the avatar of Isha. So every every Ever Queen's daughter then becomes the Ever Queen, but is also infused with the souls of all of her ancestors, going back to Isha, who's the mother of the first Ever Queen. So she's sort of almost like the God Emperor of mankind, just for elves. But in the fluff, a mother's killed. There's this big event in Avalon to crown the new Ever Queen. Tragically, it gets invaded by dark elves, and there's this sort of Terminator style, Terminator 1 style chase thing as Tyrion rescues her and goes off into the woods of Avalon trying to evade these dark elves. And he gets poisoned, and he gets fighting off these witch elves, and he's trying to protect her, and they don't get on. And then she comes to sort of realize she thinks he's a bloodthirsty maniac because he's very good at killing.
He's an angry lad, that Tyrion.
Yes, he's got issues, and he thinks she's just like haughty and doesn't know what real life's all about. And it is when I was listening to some on YouTube, you get all the lore, and it was like, this is pretty much Terminator 1, just like she's Sarah Connor, like learning to going from helpless to a strong character. And
I'm just like, I was saying, I didn't want to cut in your introduction of him earlier, but if you've ever watched the Nickelodeon gem, the highly acclaimed Avatar, it's literally what she is. And it's kind of fun to do a bit of research for these, because I've been finding loads of mind-blowing things I didn't notice when I was a kid.
They stole everything.
No, absolutely. They ransacked it.
Shameless stealing. So at this point, Ulthuan there's a massive invasion of the Dark Elves, and they're not doing very well. And because the Ever Queen's died and the new Ever Queen has now gone missing, presumed dead, they're all on some sort of low morale. The morale's gone, essentially. I don't know who the Phoenix King is at this point. Is it? It probably is Finnebar at this point.
I think it is Finnebar.
Yeah.
My elf lore is a bit hazy, but he is Phoenix King for quite a while, for a lot of it.
He's Phoenix King before... Yeah, he must be, because he's Phoenix King when Tyrion and Teclis are presented to see whether they've got the blood of Daenerys' blood's turned them mad or not. So it must be him. Anyway, it's all in chaos. They can't organize the armies. They're getting pasted. I think they've even breached the inner kingdoms. And there's this sort of chase sequence with Tyrion and Alarielle. And the gist of it is that they eventually turn up at they're about to get killed. And I think Teclis just turns up, having left the White Tower, saying, I know my brother's in danger. I've got to go and save him. That's when he gets the crown of Safri and forges his sword anyway. And in standard, what is it? Linear fighters, quadratic mages. When Teclis turns up, he just kills all of the Dark Elves with magic.
Yes. Not a Deus Ex Machina at all.
No, why can't he? He's quite powerful. And then they go to, I think it's Finneval Plain. That's the battle that they end up at, and the Ever Queen's back and raises morale, and the High Elves win, and it's where Tyrion kills Orion Poisonblade, who's like the champion of the Witch King, and I'm sure it's the one where Teclis restarts the Assyrian's flame in Malekith. So he almost incinerates him back. He sort of rekindles the embers of the flame of Assyrian that's incinerated Malekith the first time, and he has to portal himself into the realm of chaos to escape. But that's another story.
That's cool, because I didn't know Malekith got set on fire twice.
Yeah, that's how they're having this magical duel, and Teclis just sort of returns on the Assyrian flame, and it's like, oh bollocks, can't put up with much of this. So he flips into the realm of chaos and has some crazy adventure there. But I haven't picked not spoilers. I haven't picked Malekith, so I won't go into that. So that's how she starts. She then has a It's the Phoenix King and the Ever Queen. They have 1 year together to produce a daughter who will be the next Ever Queen, and then they can do what they like.
No pressure.
No, they're not. Yeah, they're not. They're not married, or they don't have to stay married. They can take as many other lovers or whatever as they want. Alarielle ends up with Tyrion, which is quite unusual because it's not usual that they would just take one.
Yeah.
They would do what they want.
But isn't that romantic though?
Yeah, it's quite different. But she doesn't turn her back on Finnebar. She's massively supporting him to the point where there's some instance where the princes aren't happy with what he's doing. I think because he's a big diplomat, so he frequently goes off to other nations, and he's still an explorer. And the council that they leave behind to rule it, they're not happy with what he's doing, or they're making bids for power. So she makes a big thing of turning up, and you can't really deny the Ever Queen. That would be political suicide. So she backs him up in his rule. So she backs him up. And she's sort of a bit controversial in Elven society because the traditional role of the Ever Queen is just to be like nice, and she looks after fertility rituals, and she looks after nature, and she's like supposed to be very maternalistic. Alarielle doesn't. Well, she does that, but she also goes to war. She leads armies. She's she's not very militaristic, but she's much more militaristic than they used to.
So, hands-on.
Yeah, she gets involved in stuff. She leads armies. She's a very powerful magic user, and it's a bit different for an Ever Queen to do that because, like, her and Finnebar, they back each other up. No one's going to make too much of an issue with that.
Yeah.
However much they murmur about it. So I like that fluff element of it, that she's got this role, but she makes it her own.
Yeah.
So I like that about her, and her game rules are. She's probably the best high elf special character. I don't really like using special characters, but I'll make an exception for her.
Yeah, she is. I remember from what you told me, she is terrifying for what she can do to a unit.
She's not much of an aggressive character, but her defensive benefits are brilliant. Whatever unit you put her in, she gives them a 5-up ward save against non-magical attacks. She can cast high magic, which improves that by 1 every time she casts. So she's a level 4, but she's a level 5 because of Belief's Blessing. So she's +5 to casting high magic. So you're probably going to get, if you don't get it off, it goes wrong, which I spoke about in the episode with Gavin. But you stick her in a White Lion horde, and they've now got a 5-up ward save against non-magical attacks, which she'll improve in the magic phase. She's got heroic killing blow against forces of destruction, like demons and dead.
Demons, yeah.
She's only strength 3. She's got 1 attack, but she could, if you roll right, take down a greater demon with 1 touch,
which is nasty.
She makes the unit she's in fearless, I think, or I don't think it doesn't make them immune to psychology. It just makes them immune to fear and terror. She also opens up the Banner of Avalon, which if you put that on a unit, they now +4 to casting life magic on that unit. So it could be +8 if you pick a Law of Life instead of Law of High Magic. So she's very good in game terms. She's good, and I like her fluff. And she's instrumental in the White Lion Alarielle Horde of Death. And I've used her a few times, and I've never bulldozed anyone with her because it's all at tournaments, and so every superpowered thing you bring, there's a superpowered counter to it.
Yeah.
But she is fun to use.
Frankly, if you used that against me, I would riot.
Yeah, it's one you should ask permission
Yeah.
before you do it.
And what's your competition? Skeletons and zombies. It's a bit of overkill, to be honest.
Well, you can stick if you give the White Lion Horde banner bearer the banner of the World Dragon. Now you've got, if you cast 2 spells, she's now 3 up against 3 up ward save against all non-magical attacks and 2 up ward save against all magic attacks. So that's quite a durable unit.
Oh, and not to mention, if you use the Law of Life, they'll be having regeneration and all that nonsense.
Oh yeah, so she can all that, like, it's increased toughness, isn't it? And
yeah, toughness 6 guys.
And regrowth, so you can get them back. So I've never used it with a lot of life, but I probably will give it a try when we can play again. That's why this is in no particular order, but Alarielle is in my top 5. But I know the model's not very well, it's not great, but there's some great artwork of her.
Yeah, I think I often find, I just found this out recently. I follow some of the main GW artists on Instagram. And I can't remember if it was Dave Gallagher. I think it might have been Dave Gallagher. Posted something about how there's a lot of modern restrictions on the art content, so it has to be stuff that is models, basically. There's no, you can't, this happened apparently, I don't want to, I could probably timeline it just from looking at it, looking how the art changed, but obviously it wasn't going on like, say, 2010. I think it was a bit behind, it was about after 2012, I think. You remember like your Karl Kopinski stuff and that always had like, there was always a lot of life to the art. Like, you saw Space Marine, it wasn't just a Space Marine. They would have like lots of cool little doodads and fetishes and adornments on the art. But then suddenly, if you look at the modern artwork now, it's not bad, but it is very much, this is the model as it's depicted with no extra stuff. So if you see a portrayal of Gilliman in the art, for example, it looks like the model you can get of him. So there was a push towards marketability in the art. So that makes me a bit sad, because there's a lot of like the really old, cool, small side art pieces that used to be on like the page corners.
Yeah.
We've lost a lot of that stuff, and you lose a lot of the really cool background art that had. I mean, I suppose characters have always been fairly directly depicted in the artwork, so you'll keep that. But it makes me sad that you don't get to see like Marines look a lot less lived in the art now, for example.
So they're not. They're not. You're not allowed to depict something that you can't go out and buy.
It is strongly discouraged. Yes.
That's a bit of a shame.
But the whole idea is they don't want to present. I guess they don't want to present kids specifically, but also customers with like, oh, look at this cool thing. We don't make it, but look at it.
Well, now you're getting into the Warhammer Total War thing of, oh, everybody likes this game, but we can't buy it.
Yeah.
That issue again.
Or like, oh, this Norskin faction's really cool. Where are the models?
They don't exist, and the game doesn't exist. So come and look at this crazy crap that Age of Sigmar's got.
Yeah, why? Let me tell you a little story about a really great game that's even better than Warhammer Total War. Also, side note, a trick was heavily missed when it wasn't called Total Warhammer.
I assume there was some.
It's copywriting. It's going to be copywriting, isn't it? Yeah.
Blending 2 companies' IP, that is probably a legal nightmare.
But Total Warhammer would have been such a cool game.
That would have been good.
Oh, sorry, I snorted there. Because I was being too hilarious. Oh, sorry, am I up again?
You are. What is your fourth? Number 4. What is your second choice?
My second pick. Now, well-renowned, I think. He has been a Chaos character for as long as 40k has had characters for Chaos Marines. And it is your boy, Khan the Betrayer. or Khan the Betrayer, depending on how you want to pronounce that accent.
How you pronounce that triangle above his name?
Khan? Khan.
Cairn?
I'm assuming it's Khan. Everyone says Khan.
Must be Khan.
Yeah. Khan the Betrayer is what can I say? He is the OG assassin and unit deletion choice for most Chaos players who like to use a special character. I don't use special characters a lot, but he is one of the only ones I've ever fielded a few times.
Did it make you feel powerful to field such a man?
It really did, because here's the thing: he has the unique distinction in 5th, 6th, and 7th. I think it still holds in 8th of being the only character who can technically have 100% hit accuracy in close combat. Because if he's in a unit, he hits on a 2+, and if he rolls 1, you just resolve it against his unit, so he never misses.
Yeah, that was his thing. That he chops up his own people.
Corn cares not for whence the blood flows, and neither do I. To quote Khan the Betrayer.
Is that his art of war?
Yes. His other quote, which is quite famous, is "Maim, kill, burn. Maim, kill, burn."
It's quite catchy. That
it's a good one for the rally circuit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get those words. I like Khan because he's one of those characters who seems simple, and I guess in his current form, he very much is. But if you look back into his history, there's a lot more to him, and I really like what they did with him in Horus Heresy.
I was going to bring this up because when he's introduced, he's a perfectly reasonable and probably one of the more reasonable Marines in the World Eaters.
Yeah, he's literally the opposite, and I think that was kind of a little author in joke, is that he's really calm and doesn't rise to being provoked.
No, he's one of the nicer characters.
He is, and honestly, I think it's not First Heretic, it's Betrayer, but it has characters from First Heretic. His bromance with Argyle Tal is one of the most beautiful things in the Horus Heresy. You've got this slowly maddening Khan palling around with the one rational but also demon possessed word bearer. And they just make a very fine buddy cop traitor duo.
Why does he go mad? I haven't got that far in the Horus Heresy.
It's quite a ways in. So basically, he achieves prominence. He is a warhound, so he is a pre-Angron world eater, which is not. Some fans don't know that some of the legions were renamed when they found their Primarchs. So, for example, the Dusk Raiders became the Death Guard, the Warhounds became the World Eaters.
Lunar Wolves become the...
well, that's the famous example I should have gone to, really, isn't it? Lunar Wolves become the Sons of Horus, become the Black Legion. Yeah, so he is the...
So he's from Earth, then, if he's pre...
I don't know. It doesn't... I'm not sure if he's actually stated as Terran, but he is pre-Angron Legion. So he is the surviving captain. There aren't many. I don't know if your readers, your subscribers, smash that like button, comment and subscribe.
Ring that bell.
Link, follow us on MySpace and Twitter.
What was that other? Friends Reunited.
Friends Reunited. High five. Give us 5 on high five. Yeah, he when they're recovered, people who are listening to this probably already know the story of how Angron was recovered by the Emperor, in that he is about to die. He's led in a gladiator uprising on his homeworld, and he and his slave fighters are about to fight the last bitter showdown to the death, and the Emperor teleports him, and only him, out of it. This is seen as... he takes exception to it, let's say. Angron is very unhappy, so unhappy that when he's delivered to the World Eaters, as they become known, they have to lock him in a hold on their own flagship. because he keeps killing people on sight. At this point,
came up in the Emperor versus Emperor episode. In that, this is a mark against the Emperor and how he treats Angron, as opposed to how he treats. What's the other Primarch? He has a very similar thing, but he does help him and rescue his.
Is it Corax?
It's either Corax or Vulcan. No, because
it's Corax has this weird little rebellion. Yeah, I'm sure it's Corvus Corax. And by sure, I mean
55% sure.
55% sure, and don't at me. I'm only human. And I also don't use Twitter, so you can't at me.
There is definitely a Primarch who is in similar circumstances to Angron, but the Emperor helps all his friends.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is Corax.
The Emperor just says, well, hang on, where's all my friends? The Emperor says, don't worry about
it. Bye.
Yeah, there's your lead.
Just nopes on out of there.
Yeah.
And leaves the World Eaters to greet their new Primarch. And actually, another misstep on the God Emperor's part, if there was a possible. He makes the World Eater captains swear an oath not to harm Angron, no matter how provoked they are. So they go in one by one, and he kills them. And Khan is one of the very last captains of the Legion at this point. So he goes in, finds Angron sitting on a pile of power-armored corpses. And Angron attacks him. But like his forebearers, he takes his oath seriously and does not retaliate. But he also doesn't bow or kneel or beg either. While he's being beaten to very close to death, he manages to interject tales of the victories and trials of the Warhounds. And Angron relents, and recognizing that they're not like a bunch of prissy, warriors who don't get their hands dirty from space, who, like his father, sit high removed from the fights. See, that's the thing. I think that's the seed of Angron's hate of the Emperor, is that basically the Emperor in that moment reminds him of the guys who used to watch the gladiatorial fights from above.
The Emperor couldn't have got him all wrong, really.
Yeah, that's a bit of an own goal, that one. But yeah, this is what makes Khan promoted to War Master's Equerry and first captain of the World Eaters. So he rises to prominence by showing the exact opposite of all the traits he's later known for, as in calmness, doesn't rise to provocation, is chill in the face of shouting people punching him. Then Angron says, "Hey guys, you know these things in my head that make me nuts? That's to be the butcher's nails, combat implants given to all the gladiators of his homeworld. And you know how Astartes are already like basically testosterone soaked and steroid. It is canon that they are treated with basically super steroids to make them giant fighty people, who are primed for aggression. It's like, wouldn't it be great if we jab these things in your brain that make you angry if you're not killing things and make you feel pain if you're not showing aggression?" And everyone's like, sure, that seems fine. Except the librarians, but they've swiftly become irrelevant by being killed. Because they can't have the nails, because it absolutely destroys a brain that is psychic, it turns out. So anyway, Khan bobs along, as most people in the Heresy did. Honestly, his trajectory, I don't want to cover too much on him, actually, because his trajectory from there to where he ends up is actually really interesting and very well done, by mostly Aaron Dembski-Bowden, who I think is probably either on par with or second only to Dan Abnett I know he's sort of his protege in terms of the writing scene, but honestly, his Night Lords novels and any of one of the novels that he's written that I've read, they're all fantastic.
I like his, I've said this a few times, his Master of Mankind book is how I visualize the Emperor now.
I haven't read that one yet. Is it good?
I strongly recommend it.
I shall check it out. He's very good at humanizing the inhuman. Like he made, I know I've used that term for the artwork, but he makes the universe like Abnett does, which is what I think makes him great. Makes them both great is that they make the universe feel lived in. Like they make Space Marines inhuman but relatable. Like they've managed to find the humanity in the most inhuman of humanity's forces, in the sense that they're not all just honor, kill aliens. There's personality to each one of them, and he really gets that across with Khan, who has a bit of like early Khan has that sardonic sense of humor. He's a bit deadpan. That, of course, all goes out the window eventually. But yeah, at some point, Khan goes a bit off the deep end. Inherits. We're gonna breeze past a lot. I'm not making the same mistakes I made with Nagash. Picks up one of his papa, and by papa I mean Primarch Angron's old axes, Gore Child. The other one's called Gore Father, which is kind of adorable. And
now he's a giant demon prince.
Yeah, they're just lying around in a ship, and he finds one and then runs off with it. It's amazing.
It's not giant. Primarch's 13 feet tall.
They are. It's Gore Father's like the offhand. Gore Child's the offhand axe.
Oh, right.
If you actually look at him in artwork, the bite of the axe, the cutting edge of it, is about as long as Khan's torso, if not a little longer. It's a big axe. It's really huge. But like, yeah, he's a fun character to play because, you know, there's great risk and great reward. He doesn't have a ward save, or at least I haven't checked his 8th or 9th because, again, my own Warriors army's new and doesn't use Khan. But he didn't used to have any ward save, and he only had a 3+ save, which was a bit odd in the Chaos character pantheon. But he's just there to put him in a big unit of berserkers. People who say berserkers aren't good shock troops, idiots, who don't. Oh. I'm going to say it. You know what? I hear it so much, like, oh, they're overcosted. They're not very good at what they do. If you just trust in them and deploy them and use them, they will perform if you can advance them right. I don't think there's such a, with the exception of the Tyranid Pyrovore, I don't think there's any true junk units in the modern game. There's some ones you're less likely to use, sure. Oh, wait, no, I forgot mutilators exist. Never mind. Forget I said anything. Mutilators are garbage. But berserkers, they're pretty good. And if you put Khan in a wedge of them, they will tear through an army. So he is one of the examples of a character who I really enjoy his fluff. I know I've skimmed a lot, just because I kind of want people to enjoy it by discovering themselves in the books if they're inclined to do it. Obviously, he's known as Khan the Betrayer not because of his special rule. He's actually known because of another weirdly uncharacteristic part of his past. At some point when the traitors are retreating from Earth, at this point, Khan has allegedly died twice, I should add. But Khorne doesn't like him dying, so he just keeps nudging him back up, rezzing him. They're on a world called Scalathrax, I believe. Scalathrax. He's there with the Emperor's children, and I believe it's a demon world. I'm sorry, memory's a bit hazy on this one. And him and the Emperor's children are fighting, and Khorne, the World Eaters need a victory to claim the world as their own before the night falls, because on Scalathrax, night is like lethally cold. So people start hunkering down. The noise marines, the Emperor's children, which would probably have noise marines in, and World Eaters hunker down alike to hide from the cold. And Khan's having none of that. and picks up a flamer and goes apeshit mental with it, which is kind of weirdly uncharacteristic. He starts burning down all the shelter and anyone who gets in his way, and sort of just runs hog wild. And that's where he earns the nickname. And reflected in his rules, it's reflected in his rules perfectly that if he thinks you're not pulling your weight, he'll just lop your head off, or if he's not hitting anything else, he'll lop your head off. I kind of like him because of all of the special characters in the Chaos Pantheon, I think he most fully embodies his god. Like Lucius has, the pride and the whatnot and the martial prowess. But I always feel like the other guys, like I suppose true to Zinch, Araman is a bit like a bit whoa, a bit sketchy, but not fully loyal to even Zinch because, and I guess that's fitting.
Well, he's trying to undo the rubric.
Yeah. So maybe not actually.
But Zinch doesn't want that undone, or does he? Who knows?
Who's to say? Not him ever. But yeah, Khan just feels like the purest reduction of what Khorne wants, and that's blood and skulls, and he delivers with gusto. I think he's always had a beautiful model. His old one was originally 1993, or might have been 90. It might have been earlier. And it still looked good the day they retired it, which was a bit odd. He's the one that least needs a new model, but he got it first, I think. But his new model's spectacular as well, so win-win. I think the only thing that made his old model a bit silly was it was very small compared to the new Chaos line.
That's the common problem now. The new scale.
Yeah, you can get around it. I've done it with some Forge World models. If you have them standing on rubble and you put some spacing material between the old ball joint and socket joint of the torso and legs, if you put some filler in between, you can artificially enhance the height a bit. And it if the sculpt's good, especially with the Forge World stuff, it doesn't really harm them much. Like their proportions hold. Pro tip for hobbyists there. But yeah, you couldn't have done that with Khan because he was basically a two-piece model. Three, sorry. It was axe, body, and backpack, I think. But yeah, I think he's a well-deserved stable entry. I would think he's a popular choice. There's lots of memes and fan art of him. People can't get enough of the guy, and rightly so. I think he deserves a permanent place in the Chaos Character Pantheon.
Oh, fair enough. Well, my second choice is Commissar Yarrick.
Oh.
And this is nothing to do with the tabletop because I don't think I've ever used him on the tabletop.
I'm a guard player and I haven't.
Yeah. So I don't know what he does. I only assume he is some high leadership and stops him running away. It's all to do with his image and his fluff and his background because he's such a. I don't know what he's like almost the archetype commissar character, and
yes,
he's almost. You're reading all the stuff that's happened, and you're thinking, did this happen, or is this just imperial
propaganda?
Yeah, because you're never really sure. It almost reads like he's one day from retirement when the Orc invasion comes up. He's literally just about to retire, and he says, "No, I'm not. I will. I'll stay in my retirement, and I'll stay on to defend Armageddon." And he's got this. He's in dispute with the planetary governor von Straub.
Yes.
He says, what you're doing, that this is a major problem. And he sends a message through the astropathic network to say, we're in serious trouble here. And von Straub goes mad and sends him to Hades Hive as sort of a punishment. And then he holds Hades Hive for against the massive Orc invasion. And because he's doing so well, the Orcs, because they love fighting so much, they sort of lose interest in the overall strategic objectives of conquering Armageddon, and they all just focus on Hades Hive, which is it's absolutely destroyed by the end of it. I think they lose it at the end.
It is. It actually it explodes
Yeah.
entirely. I think they crash a meteor into it or something.
Yeah, and because he's put up such a resistance, the invasion sort of goes awry, and Thraka starts. It's like a personal challenge to him, and just that Yarrick's like he's inspiring the troops, and he must be because he served a full term before, so he must be.
He's like
old.
80. He's 80 or something. He might be over 100 at this point. It does mention he's old.
Yeah, he's old by the time this all happens, and then he has a punch up with some war boss. I can't read this. Ugul Hard or something like that. And this orc boss cuts his arm off, but before he can cheer about it, Yarrick just decapitates him and steals his arm, which is a massive power claw thing. And decides, oh, I'll use this. And has it bolted onto him.
I love that my old theory, you might remember this from way back in the day, my old theory is that the reason he wields a stone bolter in his other hand is to balance the arm out.
Yeah, it must be. He's the only human who can wield a massive, almost marine-sized stone bolter one-handed.
Yeah.
According to his model. He's got this, he loses an eye at some point, so he has a laser eye put in because he
remember the war gear card.
Yeah, because he understands. He's somewhat of an expert on orcs before, like during his normal service, he can speak orc and he understands their culture and stuff. So there's this. He hears that the orcs think that he can kill with a look. So that's his justification. Right. Well, now I will be able to, because that'll back up the mythology. So he understands orc psychology. Excuse me. I just think he's great. He's like if you wanted a hero to emerge from like an absolutely farcical situation that shouldn't have happened, like this invasion of Armageddon, they should have been better prepared for it, and they weren't. But they've just raised this guy to like, if it whether it happened or not, it works as a morale building thing. But if it did happen, he's like one of the greatest human heroes of all time.
Oh, he's quite the guy. Thing is, he is real because that's the thing. I do like the meta-narrative look at him, but the reason you know he's real is because after that, he launches a counterattack.
Yes, he does.
Yeah. Chases Gazgul Thraka across space.
Yeah, doesn't he team up with I don't know if it's the Black Templars or something, but they team up
with the Black Templars.
Yeah, it makes sense for them, and they go off on a orc hunting adventure themselves. And he comes back for the third Battle of Armageddon, I think.
He does, yes, I believe.
He's back, and how he's this old and still doing stuff. It's explained like he's got Juvenat. He's received.
Because I think in canon at the current timeline point we're at, he's like 120.
Yeah, which is not. I mean, the High Lords of Terror are all ancient, so it's not impossible. And you could see why the Imperium would see it's worth a while for the propaganda and morale reasoning to keep them around.
Oh, absolutely.
But he's just such a fun character that is like he's almost, I imagine, a bit like Arlie Ermy, crossed with, he's got a dapper uniform, and he's just an inspiring leader for humans. Yes. And there's that theory that you know how orc technology works because they think it works.
Yes.
Well, they think he can't die, so that's why he doesn't.
They're cutting both ways.
Yeah. Didn't he have a rule where if you remove his last wound, you roll a dice?
Back up.
Yep. So
he's not the only character who has that rule. Actually, there's 3 or 4. One who's about to become relevant, I think.
So and the model's great as well. He's got the traditional commissar look. He's got his long black coat. He's got medals, I think, on the
giant hat.
giant power claw. It's an old model now. I think it probably could do with an update, but it's still good.
It's 99, I think.
99, yeah. I had the metal one, but it's in red as well now, I think.
It's he has that gaunt. He actually has like a wizened old guy face as
Yeah,
well.
he's very like thin, isn't it? His face. It's all.
Yeah,
It's just a great uplifting story of one man's struggle against bureaucratic ineptitude and world-ending orc invasion.
yeah,
Um, and it's nothing really to do with these rules. I just think he's a great character.
yeah. There's a few of my list who aren't on there for their rules at all. Like Khan has good rules, but he was there law first because I kind of love his trajectory. So I fully respect that. I mean, the next pick on my list has not. I've never played as their faction. Never mind as their army. Never mind use them on the tabletop.
Yeah, I think I flirted with getting the guard.
You had Steel Legion, yeah.
Yeah, that was back before. That was back when they had about 3 metal models, and they were all mechanized, and it would have cost a fortune to buy it.
I think you got two. You got a couple of squads in your defense, but then I think you're like, oh no.
So I got Yarrick is he attached to the Steel Legion? He must be if he's on Armageddon.
Technically, yes. I mean, it's sometimes quite vague on how commissars work because they're outside the rank structure. They're attached to regiments, but they can just leave because they're not guard. Technically, well, in some books they are, but I believe they're Scholar Progenium, so they can just go if they want.
They don't have like command authority.
No, but they have the authority to overrule all command.
Yeah,
it's very strange.
They can advise, but they're supposed to, even if the officer gets killed or they kill the officer, they're supposed to hand over to the next proper commissioned officer as soon as possible.
Yes.
But like, I didn't read too much into it. I don't know if he was like planning all the stuff, and
he was basically in charge of the defense of Hades.
Yeah, so he's commandeered one hive to say,
yoink.
Actually, we're going to defend this. We're not going to just cave it in. So he's an uplifting imperial hero, and I've never seen him used. Unfortunately, I would like to see him used more often. Whether or not his rules are any good.
He's an odd duck. I think he has he used to have. I don't know if he still does. He used to have a power field that reduced the strength of incoming attacks, which is an odd but useful thing.
Yeah, I remember that.
He has this power fist equivalent, obviously, and a storm bolter.
Somehow his 80-year-old spine can take the weight of a massive orc power claw.
One can assume that they've stuffed a bunch of suspensors in it, I guess. I'd hope. Otherwise, how?
Does he use that in his normal day-to-day job? I mean, does he write?
That's what I was thinking. Does he take it off, or is he always walking around with that giant oak power claw?
Does he have the uniform?
Doing his paperwork with it?
Yeah, like I've got to fill in some forms, some requisitions with the giant oak power claw.
I have to hang on. I have to take a seat because I've got to put the bolter down for this.
Yeah, his other hand's occupied with a bolter, so
I imagine it's got like some sort of docking station on his desk.
Presumably.
Yeah, people don't think about this sort of stuff when they design heroic, brilliant-looking models. It's like, so what does he do when he's not being Commissar Yarrick?
He hangs up the jacket.
Huh?
He's got this giant bane blade called, is it the
Fortress of Arrogance?
Just such a great name.
It's amazing. I think it actually sacrifices its pintle mount weapons to put a pulpit on it for him on top of the main gun turret. It's a beautiful kit. Well, it's not a real kit. It's a Baneblade kit with modifications, but it has rules. They are in the first Apocalypse book, I believe.
So he's got his own pimped out Baneblade. He's got Juvenile. The Imperium has done quite well. He was one of the few humans who've done quite well out of the Imperium. And for like a commissar, although it's a powerful thing, it's not very high ranking. They don't have inquisitorial power. They don't. But he's been put out of obscurity to become this Imperial hero.
Then you get the weird I don't even want to. Lord Commissars. So there's Lords of Commissar. Oh, that's
Yeah,
just more confusing.
they're like their own parallel
Uh,
rank structure, aren't they? But he's not a Lord Commissar. He's just the basic.
it's just the guy. He would
Yeah.
probably be a Lord Commissar now, I think. But
I'm
like,
sure if he, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some story where he was offered it and he refused it until he'd gone after Thraka because he wanted to stay front line. He didn't want to.
yeah, be behind no damn desk.
Yeah, he doesn't front behind the desk. He's like Captain Kirk. He didn't really want to be an admiral. He wanted to be a captain. Something like that.
I can't think of William Shatner without thinking, what does God want with the stars?
What
It's not relevant, but
what does Yarrick want with a fortress of arrogance?
well, actually, this segues perfectly into my next pick,
Ooh.
which is, to use his full name, Reclusiarch Merrick Grimaldus of the Black Templars, the hero of Hell's Reach.
Well, this is going to be a learning experience because I have no idea who this guy is.
Oh, well, in the Battle of Armageddon, we were just talking about, while Hades' Hive was being held by Yarrick, Hell's Reach Hive was held by under the command of Grimaldus, newly appointed Reclusiarch of the Black Templars. Now, I'm gonna level with you guys. Never played as Black Templars, even though I like the color scheme and I think their fluff is cool in a sort of hilarious way. In that, like, in a world where the space racism of the Imperium is its main driving force, they turned it up to 11 and then turned it more until the knob broke off. And they really hate aliens, like, so much, so bad. I just find that kind of amusing in itself.
I also like the Templars for. Oh yeah, we would follow the Codex, but we're on crusade, so we're exempt.
Yeah, there's an estimation somewhere in one of the codices that says, and there's a little nugget of knowledge for you fans. The plural of codex is codices, not codexes. But moving on,
It's a learning environment.
yeah. It's in there. It states that it is estimated by the Inquisition that they have between 6,000 and 10,000 Marines because they have no centralized power base. They have no fortress monastery. They're a fleet-based chapter. But wherever they go, they raise fortresses to recruit for each individual crusade. So there's a lot of them. But in their defense, they're not exactly a threat to the Imperium because they're not ever consolidating that power. They're always advancing on the enemy. So it's kind of an odd choice that they defend a hive here. They have some disagreements with the hives of the defenders, like the salamanders, who some idiots who want to preserve civilian life for reasons.
What the Emperor would do.
Yeah. So I'll level with you. The main reason he is here is because of Aaron Dembski-Bowden. He wrote
Again.
a pair of novels on the Third War for Armageddon.
I'll ask him at this.
I believe, what are they called? I think the one's called Hell's Reach. Hang on, I just literally turn around because the book is on my bookshelf behind me. Hell's Reach and Blood and Fire, but you can buy them as I'm not working for Games Workshop anymore. But the Space Marine Battles books, which was a bit of a hit and miss set, if I'm going to be honest. Some of them are great, some of them aren't. One of the better ones is the Armageddon book, which is literally just a mini omnibus of Hell's Reach and Blood and Fire that has a little mini gloss art spread in the middle with some hive maps and maps of Armageddon to give it a bit more, to give a bit of fleshing out to the events of the novel, which is something I always like. I always like that in the Gaunt's Ghost books, like when they have sieges of a hive, for example, there was like a basic map of the hive at the start.
Yeah.
Because I think hives can often defy easy description because of their sheer unimaginable size.
Yeah, that's a big. It's much better to see a hive because you can describe how big it is all you want, but in the context of this giant thing just in the middle of a massive wasteland.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he's in charge of the defense of Hell's Reach, something which he does quite well. He's famous for his speeches. If you honestly look up his wiki, there's copies of all his speeches. He's such a popular character. In fact, there's a YouTube series. I just found out about this today and watched some of it, actually. It's very good. Based on the Hell's Reach novel. Fan produced by, what's his name? I do want to name drop him because he's done excellent work. By Richard Boylan. He's made a series of 13 videos using the Source Filmmaker engine and voiceover from the audio novel to make a really rather good depiction of the Hell's Reach novel. Basically, he turns up there and he has that distinction of, and I've just noticed this, there's a trend in the guys I've picked, is that they're all very hard to kill and they keep coming back. And I think Grimaldus actually has that rule as well, same as Yarrick, because he defends Hell's Reach right up until, and we're talking like, he's just casually badass. At one point he sasses the princeps of an Imperator Titan, and then he does it again on her own bridge, to the point where she's mad because he dispatched his Master of Forge to resurrect one of the instrumental things in the Third War of Armageddon, which is Oberon, the Ordinatus Armageddon, the giant land cannon.
Oh yeah,
Nova cannon on treads. It's Grimaldus is the guy who's like, hang on, there's no records of this warehouse contents. It seems to be a mechanical facility. Sends his Master of Forge out there to reactivate it. The Mechanicum are not happy about that because it needs to be blessed by some big mucky muck in the Mechanicum.
They don't mass produce Ordinatus either. They're special.
They do not.
One-off designs. So I can imagine the awakening rituals are quite in depth for that.
They are. It takes, I think, the Tech Marine quotes 9 to 11 days to breach the code that locks the vault. And even when he gets it online, he can't use its tertiary weapon systems. He can't bring its void shields online, just the main gun. And he can only fire it every 20 minutes because he has to manually reload it by recharging all the power cells himself. So yeah, they were kind of right. And the Mechanicum threatened to kill Grimaldus for this transgression. And his response to that is to have 4 Thunderhawks face off pointed at the cockpit of an Imperator. And he's like, yeah, I'll kill you and me. What are you going to do about it? Because he knows they can't get the void shields up in time for the Thunderhawks to not blow its head off. So
is he a crazy maverick who obeys?
Kind of crazy maverick chaplain, yes.
He's a chaplain.
Yes. Oh, yeah. He's the Reclusiarch of the Pact of Monks. He's that big guy. Sorry, I should have made that clear when I said he was Reclusiarch. He then defends Hell's Reach. After Hades explodes, you see that in fact they see Hades explode on the horizon, and so that's how I knew it blows up. That's in the fan videos as well. That's covered. I don't know. He's very human in his way that he realizes that the Guard aren't worthless, because a lot of Space Marines think they are, including the Emperor's champion of the Crusade he's in, are very derisive of them. But he's like, no, they just need, they're fighting for their homes, they're fighting for their ancestors, they're fighting for the Imperium and their lives, that they don't ignore them. And he whips out some speeches, man, mocking the orcs, and revving up the Guard. I'll not spoil the speech because I won't be able to do it justice, but that is very much, it's on the wiki in full, typed out. And yeah, he survives a cathedral falling on him because as the walls collapse, Hell's Reach does survive the war, but only just. Is it Stormsire? Stormsire, I think, is the name of the Imperator that he mocked the Princeps of earlier. That explodes. That dies.
Yeah, the second battle for Armageddon wasn't just like a light skirmish.
No, this is the third. Sorry, second in terms of public knowledge, but chronologically it's the third.
Right.
That's we covered how that's confusing earlier.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, everything goes to shit. He ends up defending. I think his point of the last stand is it's a priory belonging to the Order of the Silver Shroud, I believe. So him and a few battle sisters, they're old as shit prioress, and some guard stormtroopers he's befriended along the way because, unique to a lot of Space Marines, guardsmen and people actually like him because he doesn't treat them like fodder. They defend the cathedral against orcs until it literally collapses upon them. This is ironically after he says, "I have dug my grave in this place." That's the famous one that gets quoted in all the codexes. And it's possibly a thing of note is, and this is on the 1d4 chant at the top, "I will die in this world. I will die on Armageddon." Attributed Reclusiarch Grimaldus of the Black Templars shortly before not dying on Armageddon.
So he's durable.
He's he survives. He gets out from under the cathedral, and this brings in the propaganda thing again. He's called the hero of Hell's Reach because he is said to be the only one who survived that battle at the cathedral. But there's about there's 6 or 7 guardsmen make it out too. Some of the sisters survive, I believe. But for propaganda purposes, it's far better to say Grimaldus was kept alive by his faith and emerged alone. But it's very poignant and genuinely, I'm not ashamed to say you get emotional by the end of Hell's Reach. And as much as I don't like to do spoilers, it's just that bit at the end where he's like they're escorting him away to his gunship, and there's like these honor guards, and the people are cheering his name. And he says to himself, obviously, and he thinks to himself, "They call me the hero of Hell's Reach, as if there is only one." And I was just like, "That's the good stuff, right there." Yeah. Like this is what when I say like Bowden really humanizes them. It's you don't ever feel when he writes Marines, they feel powerful but not invincible. Like the fact that in his Night Lords novels, they're not panto villains. Sorry, I know we don't have just UK viewers. Pantomime villains, really stupid, obvious, like mustache twirling, cackling people, tying damsels to train tracks and whatnot. It gives even Night Lords, who are at best sociopaths, a human aspect.
Criminal sociopaths.
Yes, who peel people for fun and profit. But even they have like good motivation, and it's the same with Grimaldus. He's not like you don't feel like he ever. It's actually the reason you see that before Helbrecht pronounces him, that's High Marshal Helbrecht, their chapter master, pronounces him Reclusiarch. There's a couple of people dissent because they like he doubts everything he does. He hesitates. There's always a seconds of hesitation because he worries he won't live up to his predecessor, Reclusiarch Mordred. So you get that. That's all comes across in the novel that there's always a little bit of hesitance to him, a mix amidst the heroism, and that though he accepts the propaganda, he also resents it a little.
So do you like him because he's sort of more fleshed out?
I do, yeah. I mean, on the battle on the tabletop, he's kind of fun because his kit, big snarly skull hat, obviously, but he moves with a bunch of reliquary servitors that carry chunks of the cathedral that fell on him, which is just kind of cool. Yeah, I think I just like him because he doesn't feel like a cardboard cutout chaplain. He feels like a creation with a lot of depth and complexity. Like he understands the politics going on around him.
That's a good feature, because it's so easy to write or think of Space Marines as like that they know exactly what to do and they turn up, and just whatever they want to do just gets executed and then they leave. Whereas a lot of the real background and stuff, it's just no, they have doubt. They're human. Well, they're transhuman, but they still have feelings, and they're all different people, and they've got different personalities. And why, that they do have an opinion on the situation they're in, and even go all the way up to the top ranks. Clearly, do.
I mean, I think that actually comes across really well in the novel, because the differences of opinion with the Salamanders and the Black Templars, how some even within the Black Templars, some are like, there's one. Again, I'm not trying not to spoil scenes of the book, but there's a nice scene in the book where one of the older members of Grimaldus' unit is lecturing the young impetuous member, and he's like, "Don't dishonor our battle brothers by disrespecting their ways. It's like, there are many chapters of Space Marines. We all fight differently. We're all from different worlds," kind of thing. And he's like, "Yeah, we might be the most space racist of the space racists, but even he's saying, like, we're all pulling the same direction, just with a different style." And I really like that. It's again, Bowden got it really down well when the Night Lords meet other Chaos Marine factions in the books, like when they visit the Maelstrom, and it marks that they are very distrustful of the Black Legion, because he describes them as stinking of corruption, because those guys have given themselves to the Dark Gods fully, whereas the Night Lords are a bit more pragmatic about it, and they're like, we don't really do the demon bit. We're loyal. We hate the Imperium and we're loyal to the Long War, but that's where it ends. And I think his skill, and Abnett's probably, and a couple others, not just them, but like I think McNeil gets it too. There's a lot of shades of grey in their characters, and they feel believable. And I know it's really hard to suspend disbelief with a universe like Warhammer 40,000 sometimes, but they manage it. I think Grimaldus is a very good example of that in action in the novels. And he's fun on tabletop too. I've skimmed his rules. He's quite powerful. And his kit's still good. And if I did a Black Templar's army, I would put him in it every time, regardless, because I just love the character that much. And I think that's not something you get so much these days. Like a character that's so good, you just want to field them regardless of their rules. Because you love their antics, kind of thing.
It's quite an orky thing, that.
Well, you have to love your special characters to field any if you're an orc. Or any of your units.
That's a whole, don't open that can of worms. Well, as we seem to have overshot the time I'd allocated by about 200%, I think we'll split this one. We'll do the other one as in a rapidly organised part 2. I'll arrange that differently. Do you have any social media you'd like to whore out before I wrap this one up?
I do, actually. Inspired by what we discussed earlier about art, unless that's been cut. When
I said earlier, don't pull down the curtain Wizard of Oz style, well, that's obviously just gone out the window.
The Sundered Veil, to very obtusely reference 40k. I've just set it up, and obviously also inspired by my earlier discussion of Grimaldus. It is the_0_of_Hell's Reach. Very just flows off the
tongue, that one.
On Instagram. It's basically just an account where I've consolidated all my drawings from over the years that I've liked and I'm not ashamed of showing off. And I'm in the process of uploading some of the commission painting I've done and some of the personal painting. It's mostly fantasy and 40k, but there's a few gunpla kits in there for any of our anime fans.
Well, we're not allowed to say that's a different.
Not
What it's
mention
called,
it.
non-overlapping magisteria to.
Yeah, I was just burn out any references to Privateer Press before anyone logs in.
Who else went bust?
Well, do you remember AT-47 or
No,
Void?
nobody does. War Machine, I've heard of that. That was supposed to rival GW for all of 10 minutes.
That's Privateer Press, and War Machine Hordes, and the other one they did.
One we talked in the live stream about. I've forgotten it. They wouldn't stop talking about it. The naval battle ones.
Oh, that's not Manowar, you mean?
Not Man of War. Well, whatever it is, it didn't sell well and bankrupted the company, but now it's back like a zombie. To reference Nagash earlier.
Hey.
Anyway, I will put your Instagram in the box below. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to OnlyFans.
Smash that like button.
Yeah, like that bell. OnlyFans that like whatever it is. And would you come back like in the generation game? Will you come back next time to continue the scoring for your top 5 characters?
Yes, I will be coming back to do that, and I don't know, maybe coming back like a bad case of herpes to this podcast many times in the future, if allowed.
You might have to bleep
that. Might we? Please don't. Sorry. Yes, I forgot. We're live, even though
we're not.
And why would we be?
Anyway, that's it for this one. Join us for part 2 in whenever we do it.